It is time for the Fab Four of American soccer games over the weekend. You ready for this, Jason?
Yes, give me the Fab Four, Rob. Let's work through them.
Want to go one by one, or do you want me to rattle them off and come back to it?
No, let's start with number one, and then we'll get to number 2 and 3 and 4.
All right, number one for the Fab Four games of the American soccer weekend. We start in NWSL, San Diego Wave versus the KC Current.
Yeah, this is look, San Diego is not one of the best teams in NW. I mean, it's early, right? Let's throw that caveat out. It's early because we're still just getting our feet underneath them. This is match day 4, right? But San Diego is not one of the top teams in the league, but they are on 4 points after 3 games. They've got a win, a draw, a loss. They're 0 in terms of goal difference. Meanwhile, Kansas City Current, of course, a finalist in recent years. They built that pretty stadium there in Kansas City, so they've got momentum behind them in terms of that. They are unbeaten. They have won 3 times. They are +7 in goal difference, and we know that they have star power across that team in Kansas City. Players that you want to keep an eye on for U.S. women's national team reasons, like Claire Hutton, who just played in this last window, Alana Cook, who just played in this last window. But obviously, they also have some incredible attacking talent that you have to pay attention to, including Temwa Chawinga, the Malawian. Sorry, I don't know that one. Demonym for Malawi? Anybody? Malawian?
The Malawi citizen.
The Malawi citizen, Temwa Chawinga. Nichelle Prince, very good Canadian players. There's Dabinha, obviously, an absolute legend at this point, 33-year-old Brazilian. So Haley Mace.
Still criminal she wasn't in the Olympic team, Dabinha, last year. But
yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I don't know much about the Brazilian politics of it all, but interesting game. Again, San Diego has. They did this on purpose, right? Made waves. They've made waves for good reasons and bad reasons.
Yes.
That game is taking place in San Diego. They have been getting good crowds out of Snapdragon Stadium. That's for whatever bad things have happened in San Diego. And I'll let you go read about that, Jill Ellis and other things. They have done a good job of selling that team and marketing it, and they'll have a big crowd, I'm sure.
Before we move on to the next game in the Fab Four, Urias Tosh in the chat saying it's Trinity Rodman's League, and we're just watching it. Game number 2 here in this weekend's Fab Four games in the United States. We move to Major League Soccer, LAFC versus San Jose. It's the 8th versus 9th in the West, but both teams coming off the back of big wins. I mean, Joseph Martinez hat trick. Will we see more of that, or is that just a thing against DC?
Let's be clear. LAFC coming off a win in the league, not coming off a win in all competitions because they went to Fort Lauderdale and lost that tie to Inter Miami. What I would say about this game is we expect LAFC to be a contender, right? And they want to get over that disappointment of the Champions Cup and what happened in Fort Lauderdale. And San Jose has markedly improved. Now, they're still not a great team, right? Charlotte handled them on the East Coast 4-1. They've lost to Minnesota. They've lost to Colorado. It's not like they're just taking the league by storm. The 6-1 over DC United, context, DC pretty bad. DC, pretty bad.
So just the fact of DC just throws asterisks on it, no matter what?
Yeah, I think there's an asterisk on a win over DC, especially a 6-1 win over DC. But I do want to see if Joseph Martinez can keep it going. Like, I do want to see if that's a thing that Bruce Arena has cooking right now for San Jose, because, they want to get back in the playoffs. They want to be a contender. They got to win against good teams like LAFC if they're going to do that. And again, LAFC is not playing up to their standards, right? With just 9 points from 7 matches. When you look at the rest of the matches in the league, it's the reason we picked this game out, because there really aren't many marquee matchups. It's a lot of poor teams against much better teams. And there may be some narratives in MLS, including what happens with DC United if they lose at home to FC Cincinnati. But right now, that's the game of the weekend in MLS, I think.
Game 3 of the Fab Four of the weekend slate across North American leagues. USL Championship, Charleston Battery versus Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Yeah, this one is this is a little bit maybe more your lane, Rob. So maybe I'll let you jump in. But what I think is notable about this, 2 coaches I really like, Ben Pearman and Jenny jumped in with a hail Caesar when I mentioned his name earlier. you don't know the Caesar, do you know the Caesar story, Rob? Do you want to give us the Ben Pierman Hazel Caesar story?
He's I don't know it exactly. I just know it stems from his leadership at Michigan State University when Detroit City FC was still in their amateur era. He was the coach there, and I know that was the nickname for Coach Pierman when he was the DCFC coach. I don't know the exact
Okay,
origins of it. I just know that's when they
that's the
called him
origins.
back in the day. I don't want to say anything out of line if it was something to do with his Spartan connection. I don't know if Caesar and the Spartans have anything to do with each other. Probably not. But I do know that was the affectionate nickname Northern Guard gave Ben Pierman in
Okay.
his Detroit City FC time.
Yes, he was nicknamed Caesar. They say Hail Caesar when he was there. Ben Pierman was Detroit City FC's coach when he was also an assistant at Michigan State, if I remember my timeline correctly.
Yeah.
He parlayed his success at Detroit City into a job in Memphis. Memphis was a mess of a club and obviously now no longer exists. And he left and went to Charleston, which is a long-standing club in USL, and he's done a very good job. They play attractive, attacking soccer. That's why I wanted to mention Ben Pierman and the Charleston Battery. And on the other side of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and we are still working, our research department is still trying to figure this out, but it's possible that with the departure of Peter Ramirez from Sporting Kansas City, Bob Lilly of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds is the longest tenured manager in American soccer, in American professionals. It's possible.
You're saying that with the biggest squint I've ever seen you say anything. You're like, I don't know. If you squint hard enough, that might be true.
Well,
but yeah, at least his eighth season there.
Because I'm trying to remember. Okay, so after Burmese, obviously Jim Curtin was a long tenured coach in MLS. Then Peter Vermees. Brian Schmetzer's at 8 years, 258 days. He's the longest tenured coach in Major League Soccer, based on my quick research here. I don't know if Bob Lilly's got him beat, but it's probably really, really, really close. So, and I don't think there's anybody else in the USL champion. I mean, USL Championship coaches don't tend to last more than a year or two or three. So I would bet that he's the longest tenured coach in USL by a long way, and then he would be right there with Schmetzer. So again, interesting that you've got two coaches kind of on opposite ends of their careers, but guys that are very respected. Charleston Battery, longstanding club. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, obviously done some things too. Haven't quite gotten over the hump in the playoffs. They always seem to run into a wall when they get there. But I'm interested to see what we've got here because this is number 5 and number 6 in the Eastern Conference in the USL Championship.
Before we move on, Father Time in the chat throwing out DCFC versus Phoenix, a great game he's looking forward to. That was in contention for the Fab Four, so don't think that we did not consider that one an exciting game for Saturday night.
We just didn't want to do too much Michigan. Michigan had to be limited in its impact on the show today.
Yeah, so everyone knows, peek behind the curtain, Jason does try to he's the Michigan filter. He's the capologist
right.
for Michigan related content on this program.
That's what it is.
But before we run out of time, Fab Four, the fourth game of the weekend, we're looking at USL League One AV Alta versus the Chattanooga Red Wolves.
Yeah, and we picked this one because both these teams had dramatic victories in the Open Cup in the last round. Antelope Valley is what AV stands for out there in California. Antelope Valley Alta, AV Alta. They had the big win. That was, over LAFC too, right? It's not the MLS club exactly, but it's still a big one for them to win. We talked about this when we did our video of the best 5 moments from the round with our man Yogi Barr. Jimmy Villalobos scoring the winner, and the Villalobos took off his shirt to celebrate, got red carded because it was his second yellow in the 120th minute. That was pretty dramatic. And obviously Chattanooga Red Wolves won on penalty kicks over the Chattanooga FC side. They had never played before in Chattanooga FC's building. We had the flag planting. I'm pretty sure that at least I have not verified this independently, but someone claiming to be the flag planter, the adult in that situation, has been in our comments on Morning Kick Around, and I would really like to reach out to that individual and see if we can get a story of why he went on the field, how it went down, what all the vibes around Chattanooga right now.
We should share that comment at least, because that's funny, because the way he described getting past the security guard or lack of effort needed to get onto the field there in Chattanooga was entertaining. And when you were like, oh, why don't you come and tell us a story? He's like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, if he trespassed, we don't want to get him in trouble. That's a good point.
Further note about the Red Wolves, around the time of the Open Cup, there was an announcement, April 4th, in fact, Carlos Bocanegra, American soccer stalwart, joining the board. He's a board member at the Chattanooga Red Wolves. So
Okay.
interesting note
Getting back in
there.
the game after got fired in Atlanta, getting back in the game somehow. And since we're talking USL Championship and the lower levels, mention this as well. DWS 1967, Tommy Sohn got fired by the Birmingham Legion after a rough start to their campaign. So, and I like Tommy Sohn a lot. I'm not saying he deserved to keep his job, but that is a little sad for me.
So that is the Fab Four for the weekend ahead. The second weekend of April should be plenty of good stuff to check out. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe to the channel. There's also memberships available now. You can give it thanks, and then you can follow along on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, Twitter. You can write us an email, morningkickaround@gmail.com. You can also support on coffee.com/morningkickaround.